Welcome back to Roaming with Restless Women. Today I have Joy Linskey. Joy is the founder and chief executive officer of Jewel Toned Interiors, JTI. It's an award-winning, woman-owned interior design studio based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Known for her strategic leadership and purpose-driven approach, Joy has built JTI into a respected firm servicing the luxury multifamily workplace wellness and residential sectors with many projects focused on uplifting underserved communities, which I absolutely love. In 2003, she made history as the first woman to serve as the president of the Construction Executives Association, bringing a collaborative and inclusive perspective to the South Florida construction industry. Under her guidance, JTI has cultivated a strong, values-based culture dedicated to creativity, integrity, and giving back through mentorship, volunteerism, and community partnerships. She's a devoted wife and mother of four, and she's passionate about raising future generations of leaders, both at home and within the design, construction, and planning industries. Welcome, Joy. I'm so glad you're here with us.
I'm happy to be here.
So, you are in an industry that, on the surface, is women driven as far as the interior design. At least on the surface, that's what it is. But then you also are in the industry on the construction side that is mostly male dominated. So I wanted to start by getting your perspective of first, why did you go into interior design? And second, how have you found working in those two worlds?
So when I started at University of Florida, I went to study psychology, and
Okay.
I'm from a small town. I was just really intrigued by just why people do what they do and the things that make people tick. And so I was so interested in psychology as a field. But as I started taking it and realizing what I wanted to be like when I grew up, I really didn't know where I was going with it. It's just something, it was just a field of study I was interested in. And
Right.
I actually dated a guy that had said, well, you should look at interior design. I had never even heard of the profession. Again, small town, kind of a country girl at heart. So I went and had an interview with the chair of the department, and we ended up being one of the top 15 programs in the country at the time. So the rest is history in terms of me and interior design is really a bridge between math, science, social studies, and English. Like it is literally like every subject. I'm a lifetime learner, so I just love how it bridges the gap between so many different fields.
That's beautiful. And so when you went into interior design, what were some of the most surprising things that you found when you first started studying it?
I think, well, University of Florida is very architecturally based. So just the whole form over like function over form and that like juxtaposition, it's really everything we do has intentionality behind it, and there's a reason, there's a why, very research based. So I think it was just fascinating to me just to see that all these decisions are made in the built environment around us, and, many people don't realize that, but everything from the light levels to the material selection, furniture, everything was selected by an individual. And to be a part of that is just really fascinating because it really affects how people live, work, and play.
100%. And that's why, when you go, we bought our current home, let's see, in September last year. And so it took us quite a while because there's a feeling, you know, there's a feeling that you get when you go into different places that either matches your vibe, matches your energy level, or it doesn't. And the more functional it is for you in your current life, the better vibe you have with it. Right.
Hmm.
I remember walking into places and thinking, I can't live here, it's too claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Or walking into places and saying, why is that room there? I don't get why would they do that?
Right.
And so, but for another person with another need, it might have been perfectly obvious what that room was for. But anyway, so tell me about, to me, it would seem like you would need to have some sort of a natural artistic flair, if you will, because I know my sister has it. I don't. But the difference is dramatic. I can't decorate to save my life. You know, my
Yeah.
sister, on the other hand, can put together four things that I never would have put together and make it look beautiful. So what is it about, and do you have that internal kind of just knowing of what looks good together?
I mean, I do think it is really subjective. We
Uh-huh.
all have opinions of what is beautiful. But I think what really it's more for me around the concept of space. I'm blended family.
Oh, we just lost, hold on. We just lost your video or your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry about
Okay.
that.
That's
Um,
okay.
I'm the youngest of six in a blended family, and the next child is 15 years older. So
Oh, goodness.
for all
Yeah.
intensive purposes, I was a bit of an only child. So I always made forts, and whether it was inside the house or outside, out of palm fronds and in the woods. And I think it's just really that concept of space and how space makes you feel. I was always just creating any like whether it was a community, creating like a friend group or clubs, creating, art, of course,
Mm,
but also just anything with my hands. So I think I had that pull. I'm also a visual learner, so just I need to like see things to be able to really grasp them and put pen to paper. So all of that kind of feeds what I do.
that's amazing. So talk to me about how do you, if you're working with a client, how do you kind of tease out from them what they're actually looking for and what their vibe is?
Um, what's really fun is just to ask questions that they really don't expect us to ask, like, I mean, we a lot of times start with what's working and what's not working in your current space, but we
Okay.
work with a ton of startups, so they don't necessarily know they're just wide-eyed and, big vision, which is very fun because it's then we go to how do you want your patient or customer or employee to feel? And then we reverse engineer. So that's like a real big distinction between interior designers and architects is that we really start with that conversation around experience, and then we
Mm-hmm.
reverse engineer the layout, all the way back to the layout of the space. Where, architecture might be more focused on the structure and the systems, the building
Mm,
systems, mechanical, electrical, plumbing within a building. But for us, it's
yes.
really about that experience.
So give me an example of a recent project that you've worked on that you feel like just was out of the box successful.
Okay, so that means it needs to be complete. The ones that are really fresh are obviously ongoing. They're
Yeah.
under construction. We have recently, when I say recent, in the last, 5 years completed, a workforce housing project with half of the units dedicated to rehabilitated homeless families. And
Oh.
it is the first development of its kind in very close to downtown Fort Lauderdale. And everybody in the community, because it is a showpiece a bit for the community, because since it's the first, just really says how the space makes them feel and how it's just so warm and inviting, and they just can't
Mm,
believe how beautiful it is, and they just have this sense of nurturing and vibrancy. And so I think for me, like that's just really close to heart. Our team helped with the logo design all the way
oh.
through, layout, finish selection, furniture, lighting, every aspect of it. And so it really is a generational change, because these
Hmm.
rehabilitated individuals, this is rehabilitated families. So it just is really going to make an impact on our community, and we need more of them. We're just, getting started. There needs to be a lot more.
Absolutely. And, I hear a lot about these types of communities where we need to be building more so that people get an opportunity to feel worthy again, to feel accepted and welcome. And a lot of communities don't want those kinds of projects in the middle of them. How do you counter that? They're them saying, "Oh, it's going to bring our property down," or "We don't want these kind of people around our kids," or BS like that. Sorry,
Yeah,
I get passionate about
I
that.
know.
But
I
how
think
do you counter
honestly,
that?
a lot of it is just education and also just tours. My biggest thing is just for people to be open. Like, I don't think that you should make a fleeting statement without actually experiencing one of those spaces and, walking the site. Most developers that are going in and wanting to make these changes, they have another existing location that could be visited. So I think it's a lot of times people just having a big mouth and not necessarily being open to the possibility of something outside of what they think based on like whatever past experience or misinformation they've had. So yeah, education's a really big part of it. And
Mm-hmm.
also just getting the impact, right? Like, so it has such a far-reaching and ripple effect in a positive way to a community.
Yeah, absolutely. What is next for your firm?
So we brought on an architect, which is massive, for us to be able to offer architectural services too. And that's really just to we're still going to be interiors led. We're always going to be an
Hmm.
interior design firm first, but it is to provide that real holistic experience to our clients. And then we've also been asked by clients to get a little more involved in the branding, which is exciting because
Nice.
it it becomes that real tangible aspect of a brand. You can
Hmm.
experience it in three dimensions, but then we're able to like even just like down to the business card or the uniforms or however that company or outfit is interacting with their customer, patient, or employee.
So, all right. So, is your trajectory more towards those small businesses or startups, or are you still looking to do personal interiors?
So, luxury residential, we do kind of only play in the luxury side of things. We'll take on a couple projects here and there that are less than luxury. The truth is our services are just at a rate that a lot of times the
Yeah.
money doesn't pan out. But the luxury side is something that we're developing. We never marketed it until last year, but we've done it since inception. Uh,
Uh-huh.
a lot of our commercial clients wanted us to do their homes, so of course we would do them. And now we're actually putting our best foot forward in developing it because it's a whole nother type of interior design. It's a whole different conversation. The messaging,
Yeah.
the approach is very different. The vendors are very different. Our partners are going to need to be different on the like actual installation side. There's just a finesse that needs to be, that must occur if it's someone's home and the intimacy that requires. So we're excited
Yeah.
about that, and that's something we're relaunching a website at quarter 2, and
Oh,
that'll be a big
nice.
big push. And that is like to have that distinction between like commercial clients and residential clients.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're definitely going to make sure that your website link is in the show notes for sure. How can people get a hold of you to talk about what your firm can do for their companies or their if they're in the luxury housing market? Uh,
Joy at jeweltone.com is my email. And then I'm very active on LinkedIn personally. And then JTI has presence on all the channels. So we're on Pinterest and Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And
Very cool. That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. All
Yeah, our
right.
newsletter is a really good way just to like kind of see what we're up to.
Oh, that sounds great. So if people wanted to get onto your newsletter, they would just go to your website and sign
Yep, there's
up.
a link at the bottom.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, that's easy to do. All right. Well, I have three questions that I ask at the end of every episode. So if you could close your eyes for the first one.
Sure.
Describe what you see in your mind's eye when I say wise woman.
Mm, can I open my eyes now?
Yes.
I see a woman who is open, not closed, and who is dedicated to being better today than they were yesterday. And that is a connector and that sees the value in every single person that they meet and
Yeah,
and the story that that person may hold, no matter, who they are, where they come from, what they look like, just all aspects that people have value and value they can bring to a conversation.
absolutely. Every conversation and every person. Exactly. That was beautiful. Thank you. My next question is, where do you like to roam?
Ooh, wide open spaces.
Mm.
I'm drawn to water and we live on a golf course, so I give the illusion of a lot of land, even though we're in South Florida.
I live on a golf
Um,
course too. I know what you mean.
yeah. But I love the mountains. I love to travel. I mean, it may sound weird because one of my rackets is to be small, but I think that I love the feeling of small and just how expansive the world is.
Yes, yes. That's beautiful. All right, final question. What makes you restless, but in a good way?
Mm. The next generation, just what are we doing?
Hmm.
How are we stewarding our planet and our culture and what are we doing for the my great great grandchildren?
Yeah, absolutely. I just recently, just a year ago, had a grandson. Well, my daughter had a son, so now I have a grandson. But so those thoughts are just so prevalent in my mind now
Yeah.
that that I have him and I'm watching him grow up and I'm worried about things that I kind of let fall to the backside of my brain for a while. But now they're back to the front. So I know.
But my
So
word for
thank you. Yeah.
2026 is now. So I am focused on the
Oh,
present.
I love it. So focusing on the present. I love that. I haven't picked my word yet for 2026.
We got one more day, Julie. Just
I
kidding.
know this is it. One more day. Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's only if
Yeah,
February was a due date, which it's not.
I know. But yeah, I do have to pick my word. I think I've just been kind of not into it yet this year.
I know.
A lot of stuff going on, but
Yeah.
we'll get there. Well, thank you so much for being on the episode. And
Thanks
I
for
will
having
let you know when we publish. And thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you take a look at the show notes. And thank you, Joy, for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Julie.
All
Bye.
right. Bye. Julie Noonan here. Thank you so much for listening to Roaming with Restless Women. If you're a successful senior woman leader who would like to be on this program, please visit podcast.intuitivewisdomcoach.com. If you enjoyed this interview, please share this episode on social media and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your thumbs ups and reviews go a long way.